13 strange Canadian laws you've never heard of.
So it's illegal to scare the Queen, as in the Queen of England, in Canada. It's illegal to scare her.
Oh, can I scare her somewhere else?
It's outside of our jurisdiction if it's not in Canada.
Oh, what if we're in international waters and I put on a spooky
fair
mask and jump out of the bushes?
I suppose. I mean, unless there's like some international treaty law or I don't know.
So how is the law written?
So according to the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 49, it's called Acts Intended to Alarm Her Majesty or Break Public Peace. Everyone, this is like literally the language, which I feel is much better than from a random website. Everyone who willfully, in the presence of Her Majesty, A, does an act with intent to alarm Her Majesty or to break the public peace, or B, does an act that is intended or is likely to cause bodily harm, fair enough, to Her Majesty, is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years. So it's the first section A, like, does an act with intent to alarm Her Majesty. Intent to alarm.
So it needs to be intent here.
Yeah, and alarming is different than scaring, like the headline article said.
Well, alarm is a lower threshold than scare, isn't it?
Scare? I don't know. Alarm? I guess this is kind of up to interpretation.
I could be alarmed at how many nachos you ate at one sitting.
No, man, that's not a reasonable interpretation.
Alarm is so subjective.
Alarm means to put. I'm just guessing. I don't have the definition of alarm in front of me, but I'm assuming in this context of the criminal code, it's like to put her on alert that something could be wrong. Like her life is, she's alarmed. You know what I mean?
The Queen is alarmed.
She ran out of tea.
You would wear that shirt with those pants.
The Queen is alarmed. Your nails are hollow and rainbows.
Yeah.
The Queen is alarmed. She's running out of tea.
So do you have the punishment there?
Yeah. An indictable offense liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years.
14?
Thank God for maximum penalties.
For startling the Queen.
Okay, this was repealed in 2018.
That's very recent.
Yeah. There was a lot of these like weird laws in Canada.
I would love to know if anyone was ever charged.
Yeah, I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find much.
Well, we could talk to someone back
easily.
at CCJ.
Yeah.
Look through the UCR records.
Yeah, you know what's funny is a lot of these ones, if they're criminal code, like we could have hypothetically looked them up at work.
Yeah. Not that we should do
Not
that
that we
for
would
fun.
ever do that for entertainment purposes, but that is the job of a crime statistics analyst, technically, to go through criminal code offenses by year.
Sure,
including the ones where there's n equals 0. It's still like an offense list.
Yeah, those ones also often got grouped up into categories of like other or whatnot.
Yeah, so even through our work, I don't remember off the top of my head any like weird laws, because if there was any weird one, it would have been like grouped up into like other.
Yeah.
You know, so we never actually looked that granular detail because it wasn't important for like crime trends storytelling.
Yeah, I love that one. That's great.
Yeah, if you were ever convicted of this offense, Section 49, before 2018, please comment down below. I'm really curious what you did to alarm the Queen.
They might still be imprisoned. 14-year punishment.
I mean, like, just because there's a maximum offense penalty guideline there does not mean that happened. There is no minimum specified, though, so I don't know.
It would probably be like a YouTuber TikTok prank.
Scared her?
I scared the Queen for a viral video.
Well, that would be putting out evidence. They'd be so dumb to like make a video.
Idiots record their own crimes all the time.
It's so true.
Yeah. Throw that person in jail.
That's why you always say, I do not recall.
You need to go to content court.
Okay.
All right, that was great, Cristine. You have another?
Yes, I have many more. This one is not repealed. This is currently still
on the
books.
Case. Okay.
It is illegal to scare a child to death in Canada.
Good?
Yeah. I mean, it's the way that...
Okay, you told me this one already.
Yeah, I already told you this one. But like, you laugh when you hear that because you're like, what? Like, you can't scare them.
Does it need to be that specific? Couldn't it just be like it's legal to kill a child, obviously? Like, what is
yeah, obviously. But there was some specificity. So this is under the definition of, or the penalties of homicide.
Yeah.
It's under homicide, section 222. It says a person commits homicide when directly or indirectly by any means why does the language still say
I think it always just uses he pronouns in the criminal code.
They gotta update that.
Well, there's way more men committing crimes than women.
Totally true, though. You're right. It's all men. Okay. He causes the death of a human being. And then section 5, way lower, says a person commits culpable homicide when he causes the death of a human being, A, by means of an unlawful act, okay, B, by criminal negligence, So,
Yeah.
like, you weren't looking out for what you were doing.
Uh-huh.
C, by causing that human being by threats or fear of violence or by deception to do anything that causes his death. Or D, by willfully frightening that human being in the case of a child or a sick person. So it's specific to a child or a sick person that if you frighten them and inadvertently, directly or indirectly, cause their death, then that would count as a homicide. I mean, in some ways, I think where this is coming from is like if you scare an old person so
And they
bad
have a heart
that you
attack.
give them a heart attack, then you're liable for homicide.
That kind of makes sense to me.
Does it?
And there
though?
should be a reasonable expectation of if you're terrifying a very frail elderly
I think
person.
intent. Well, I mean, intent will always matter under homicide.
Yeah, yeah.
Mens rea. But that can totally change the context for me as to like whether I consider that reasonable to be convicted of homicide.
Do you want to give people a little criminology lesson? Actus reus, mens rea? You just mentioned it, but I don't
Mens
think people
rea.
will know
It
what
just
you're
means
talking.
like the motivation.
Yeah, usually for someone to be culpable of a crime, there's sort of this like idea or principle in English-based Western justice systems.
Is it Latin technically?
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know,
So
the words
actus
are
rea,
Latin.
like you've committed a criminal act, but you also had mens rea. You had the intention of committing that act.
Yeah.
Is that the way of putting it?
I think like motivation is technically the word, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, I actually don't remember. This was like from like first year law class, but you're right. I just remember the words, but I probably couldn't give you the perfect definition.
But this
today.
is the basis upon which people who are like sort of not criminally responsible due to like mental health issues or conditions or like schizophrenia or something sometimes are found not
Yeah.
criminally responsible because it's the courts can't establish that they really had the intention of committing the act, even if it's very clear they committed the act.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really weird ethical gray area that a lot of people take issue with, actually.
Yeah, but a lot of people take issue with it when it represents such a minority of case outcomes.
Good point.
So that's also like something that bothers people who work in the field, where like the public will blow up one case where someone got an NCRMD result, not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder.
Yeah.
And then it's like that literally happens like 0.001 or whatever it is % of the time, and it's incredibly specific. And then there's a bunch of cases that don't get that verdict, where if you actually read the case, you'd be like, they should have gotten that verdict. So there's a little bit of like moral panic over the use of it. That's what I remember.
I
from
mean, there
learning
are
in school.
real world high profile examples of it where someone who, if they had been found actually criminally responsible, would be in jail for 30 years. Whereas if they're found non-NCR, they're kind of back on the street after a panel of doctors think they're safe to return to the community, though, right?
I think it's very nuanced and
Sure.
case
Yeah,
dependent. Yeah, I just feel like the conversation ultimately leads to people wanting to just abolish NCRMD verdicts because they think like no one should get that kind of chance. And I think that kind of logic is pretty misguided because it deliberately wants to exclude outliers when the whole point is that you need something to accommodate the outliers. But anyways,
Yeah, we
that's just
also
my
don't want to
thought.
stigmatize people with mental health as,
No,
as if this is happening all the time. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's incredibly rare for that verdict to even happen. Okay, so don't scare children to death. Do not scare the child.
Okay. All right. Do you have another
It's
one?
interesting. You can't scare a child
Or the
the
queen.
queen.
Or sick old people.
But wait, you can scare a child, but not if they die. But you can't scare the queen. Doesn't matter if she dies. Interesting. I mean, okay, that one was repealed, but like back in 2018.
Okay, so